guys, if you don't already know, my name is Matt. I've been on numerous YouTube channels since 2008, especially the last few years, just really due to lack of motivation, lack of keeping anything active. I just want to try something different. Um, a lot of people on YouTube talk about current wrestling, the current product, NXT, all that jazz. In my opinion, all that stuff is pretty bad, and I don't really care about the current product, NXT, or or anything in that realm. Um, I don't enjoy a lot of the new guys. I do like Seth Rollins. He's out injured right now, so that kind of takes a lot away. I haven't really watched full time since early 2014, so it has been a good couple of years since I've fully invested my time into the product. So what we're gonna do here, obviously, like as I said about a minute ago, I used to have a channel called Matt Loves WTNA, Matt W9B1. I also have a current channel that's still open, Matt Movies 92. However, it's not used very often. Maybe eventually it will be. I don't know. But I don't have very good internet. Uploads take a while, so I thought of maybe an idea of trying to do a podcast. I tried doing one, I think about a year, maybe a year and a half ago. Had a lot of issues, didn't really keep it going. However, this time, I want to do a new one in the fact of I kind of want to try doing this every week, once a week, every single Saturday. I figured Saturday's a perfect day. I'm off from work every Saturday. So, basically, I don't have a lot of days off anymore. So, the only couple days off I have are Thursdays, and I have Saturdays and Sundays off. So, during the week, I don't have a lot of time. So, I figure Saturday is a perfect day, every single Saturday, to do this podcast for all you guys. I hope to build an audience off this, talking about more retro wrestling, retro subjects, retro pay-per-views, and stuff like that. And I'll keep it to a weekly basis so I don't get overwhelmed and my viewers don't get overwhelmed with so much content to have to watch. So I think every week is probably the best way to pull this off for everybody involved, especially me. So I don't know how long these are going to go weekly. They're probably just going to go however long I feel like they're going to. Hope you guys enjoyed the little intro. It was a little long, running about, I believe, 48 seconds. So I'm not sure if I'm going to keep that on a full-time basis, but we'll see how it all plays out. So, as you see with the title, this podcast is called 316 Power Trip, and I'm going to tell you the story behind the name. As this is an intro episode, so there's not going to be there may not be a real lot to this episode. I'm going to try to make this as long as possible, but I'm not really sure how long it will go for. But I do want to give a quick description on the name. It's because of my support and I was such a huge fan of the two-man Power Trip in 2001 after WrestleMania 17 with Triple H and Stone Cold Steve Austin. Obviously, it wasn't around that long, but for the month and a half, 2 months it was around, it was definitely one of the best groups. Underrated, one of the most underrated groups probably in the history of the business. I will discuss that in this debut episode. So, what this podcast will be about, every week, every Saturday, whatever, I will talk about whether it's WCW, ECW, WWF, WWE. However, one thing I will not talk about is current day wrestling. So, anything I talk about will be anything after probably 2012, if I even talk about anything of that era. But if I do, it'll be 2012. Nothing after 2013 will be talked about on this particular podcast because there's nothing really for me to say. So I don't want to talk negative really about everything, but we'll see how it goes. But this is mostly going to be old school stuff for old school wrestling fans of the past and present who still want to talk about that sort of thing. So let's get right down to this. Has been a long 4 or 5 minute intro, so I do apologize. So episode 1 of 316 Power Trip, we're going to talk about, as the title is called, the two-man Power Trip, and what this group could have been if it wasn't for the unfortunate quad tear of Triple H on May 21st, 2001, and what this group should have been. Now, quick backstory. WrestleMania 17, it was Triple H versus Undertaker. Undertaker won. Obviously, Triple H lost. It's a no-holds-barred match. Austin was in the main event against The Rock, challenging for the WWF Championship. No DQ. Austin, at the end of the match, Vince comes out. Austin turns heel, gets a chair from Vince, hits Rock with a chair about 50 times to get Rock off TV to go film a movie. And pretty much from there on forward, they shake hands, holds up a can of beer, and Austin and Vince are aligned. Now, the 2-minute power trip doesn't debut until the following night on Raw during a cage match with Austin and The Rock for the WWF title. The next night on Raw, Triple H comes out. You don't know what he's going to do. Maybe he's going to turn face. No one knew at the time. He destroys The Rock, joins Vince and Austin. So the 2-minute power trip essentially with Stephanie was Vince, Stephanie, The Rock, or what the fuck, not The Rock. The 2-minute power trip was Stone Cold Steve Austin, Triple H with Vince and Stephanie as kind of the manager style roles. And this group off the bat was so big. You know, a lot of people think the Austin heel turn was wrong. It was a bad move, and maybe in some ways it was on a business standpoint. Ratings did dip after Austin's heel turn. However, I just think that had a lot to do with the Monday Night Wars ending. I don't really think that's all on Austin's heel turn. Now, Austin had won the belt at Mania, so he was already the WWE champion. Triple H did not have a respective championship until shortly thereafter when he had won the Intercontinental title. Surprisingly, Triple H was the Intercontinental champion, which baffles the hell out of me right now. But in 2001, after already winning, I think, 2 or 3, at least 3, maybe, I think at least 3 world titles, I believe. Yeah, I think he was a 3-time world, maybe a 4-time world champion. Not quite sure. But he was already a multi-time world champion, and he got the title, which was really kind of weird in a way. Now, Triple H won the IC title on SmackDown on April 3rd, the SmackDown after Mania. So Triple H had won the IC belt on the following SmackDown tapings. Him and Jeff Hardy tossed it over a couple times over SmackDown, blah, blah, blah. Triple H went back on Raw on April 16th of 2001, and we went from there. So at one point, Triple H had the IC belt. Austin was the world champion. So at Backlash, they want to challenge the Brothers of Destruction, who became the de facto faces. Rock was gone filming a movie. It was all about Taker and Kane. They're the 2 biggest faces in the company at that time. So after that point, we had them go. They wanted to go after the tag belts. Vince wanted to have every belt in the company. So Backlash, it's a winner-take-all match. Everything's on the line. Triple H and Austin win. They win the tag belts at Backlash, which a lot of people forget with this main event. Where all 3 championships were on the line. It's actually one of the best tag matches I've ever seen. Definitely go recommend check it out. Go on the WWE Network or whatever if you don't have the pay-per-view on DVD or whatever. Definitely worth the time to watch. It's a really good main event, and actually the whole pay-per-view is good. Backlash 01 is where the 2-man power trip gets the tag titles. So after that forward, they fight the Hardy Boys for the tag belts. They beat them. Edge and Christian beat them. And they're going over everyone in the World Wrestling Federation at that time. And it was a crazy atmosphere having these 2 guys together, especially for ego-wise. I'm sure these guys were ego fucking maniacs, especially around the 01 period. I'm surprised Triple H would even play second fiddle to Austin, if you want to call it second fiddle. In a way, it was, because he was the Intercontinental Champion. So I understand the dynamic to it, but I'm not totally sure on how that's going to play out, or how that would have played out. Now, what happened after that? We go on to Judgment Day. Austin gets Taker, and Triple H gets Kane in a chain match for the IC title on May 20th, 2001, for the Intercontinental title. Triple H had already had the belt for about a month, little over a month, about 34 days. He loses it because Austin hits Triple H with a chair. Kane wins the title at Judgment Day, and Kane is your Intercontinental Champion after the Judgment Day pay-per-view. Now, Austin was going to lose to Taker. Triple H helped Taker. He won. Triple H helped, not Taker, sorry, he helped Austin. Austin retained the world title. Now, the next night on Raw, we had a little issue with the power trip because Triple H had lost the IC title the night prior. He was pissed off. Then Vince makes them wrestle Benoit and Jericho for the tag team titles. Now, this is a pretty good match. Benoit and Jericho were 2, newer faces, and they gave these 2 guys a chance to shine against Triple H and Austin. Shockingly enough, Jericho's got the walls of Jericho on Austin. Triple H goes to the save. He tears his quad, and this is where the angle just it dies. And then I believe Benoit gets the pin on Austin, I think. Or no, you know what? No, he tries to the pin and kick out, and I believe Jericho. Actually, I think it's a roll victory or whatever. Benoit might roll up Austin, something like that. And it was a big win for Benoit and Jericho, probably the biggest win in their career at the time. And Benoit and Jericho win the tag team championships. Now, that's not really the point of the story. The point of the story is where the two-man power trip would have went and where it should have went. They lose all their belts. Well, Austin still has the WWF title, and the phone's in a ring, so we're going to decline that call. But the fact of the matter was the two-man power trip had abruptly ended on May 21st. Then Austin started trashing Triple H on television. It became a whole fiasco. But what the original plan was, I wish this would have happened. If Triple H did not tear his quad, he would have got the IC title back at some point. I heard maybe around the June, July at the latest SummerSlam period. Austin would have still had the WWF title. The Invasion would have took part. Now, when the Invasion happened, Austin and Triple H would have been the two big guys in the Invasion. Now, because they were gone, or because Triple H was gone, the big guys in the Invasion were like Angle, Austin, and probably Jericho were the three biggest guys in the Invasion. Angle at that time, but it would have been different. The two-man power trip would have ran over the Invasion probably. The Invasion and beat all the Alliance, the WCW, ECW guys. And what I remember the original rumor was on message boards I used to read all the time that it was supposed to be Austin versus Triple H, champion versus champion, at WrestleMania 18, the main event at the Skydome. Austin's the world champion. Triple H is the Intercontinental champion. Now, the original plan, Triple H was always going to win the Rumble 02, which he did. Triple H still won the Rumble 02 when he came back from his quad injury. Perfect timing. And the two-man power trip actually, for a short time, reunited the Rumble. Now, what they should have done, obviously obviously the injury happened, but if it didn't, we would have still had Austin Triple H in the main event, WrestleMania 18, champion versus champion, IC champion versus the World Heavyweight Champion. Because by then, at No Mercy, or around No Mercy period, they would have dropped the tag titles. Because they were not, they should never drop the tag belts to Benoit and Jericho at that time. I understand they wanted to give the young guys a shot, but they should have lost them. If they wanted to lose to that, let Benoit and Jericho get them at No Mercy maybe, or Unforgiven, to kind of create a slow burn issue with the guys. They didn't do that. Now, again, they could have. They chose not to, because obviously, eventually Triple H was going to get pissed at Austin. He was playing second fiddle. He'd say, Austin was never going to give a shot for the belt, so he had to earn a shot at the Rumble, which he would have, and he did anyway. He just had to fight Jericho because Austin was having issues with the company at the time anyway, so a lot of things didn't play out the way they should have or could have. I would have loved to see the two-man power trip, Austin versus Triple H, main event of 18, like it was originally booked to happen, as it should have happened. Would have been a big money main event, and Triple H would have went over, kind of turned face in the matter, and won the World's Heavyweight Championship from Stone Cold, thus having two belts and unifying the IC title. And then obviously the IC title would have came back again though in a short time like they always do. But that was what the original idea was for the two-man power trip. They're going to feud, slow burn, take over the company for a year, take past the Invasion, and then finally eventually do a slow burn and die out around November, December, start feuding. Triple H wins the Rumble in January, and they start having issues around the No Way Out period. Obviously, things changed. NWO came into play. That was never the goal, because when the two-man power trip had originally started, WCW had just died. So I doubt there's any plans on bringing in the New World Order at that time, because these guys are all under contract from AOL Time Warner. So I don't really know how that would have really worked anyway. But this is just a little quick, I shouldn't say quick, but this is how this podcast will play out on a weekly Saturday basis. I will talk about maybe one topic, one show, one idea, one angle, and we'll talk about it every single weekend. And I think you guys will have fun with that. So I want to thank everybody who actually watched the inaugural edition of the 316 Power Trip Podcast. Thank you, everyone who's involved. Subscribe to the channel. Follow me on Twitter at MattDewey9. Check out my YouTube. Subscribe to my YouTube channel. I'll put links to my Facebook in the description box. Links to everything in the description box. And I guess that's about it. I mean, there's really not much else I want to say on this episode. Next Saturday, I don't know what it'll be about. I'm gonna I'm not even gonna think about it. I'm just gonna pick a random topic every single weekend. Random again, ECW, WCW, WF. Today's topic was the two-man power trip, just for the simple fact, my name of the show. I figured what best way to start than talk about the group that inspired the name behind this podcast. So I thought that was kind of cool. So thank you guys so much for listening, because you really didn't watch it. But I'll see you guys next Saturday. Have a good weekend, everybody. Today is 2/20/16, so I'll see you guys on the next 2/27/16, the last Saturday of February. So thank you guys for watching. Remember, the Two-Man Power Trip, the greatest and most underrated stable in professional wrestling history. Thank you guys so much again. And Two-Man Power Trip will live on in all our hearts. Thank you. Have a great afternoon.